Hi guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today is Wee Wednesday, and we have this wee little knife for you today from Sanrenmu. It's a little rectangular, I don't know, keychain dog tag style knife, multi-tool actually, is what we're going to look at today. On one side we've got a little pen knife, and on the other side we've got a little multi-tool. So it's got a cap lifter there, it's got a cordage or belt ripper, and it's got a fine little standard driver. All in one little piece of kit. Very handy, very well made. It's quite sturdy, robust, works well, and if you're interested at all in a wee little knife like this, stick around. We're going to do a full review. Alright, before I get into talking about this blade, I want to mention something else to you. I've got a need in my life, in my family actually. My daughter is a young single lady. She's almost 24. No, she's almost 23. Boy, my brain, I just hate it. She's been living on her own for a while in Calgary, and she adopted a rescue dog. And this rescue dog is about in the middle of his life. And it was a rescue dog that had had a very hard life. He had his front left leg broken above the wrist, and it got set that way in the broken state, so his leg comes down and then bends off to the side. And so of course he walks with a limp, and there's just no fixing that leg. But he seems to be fairly pain-free for that leg right now. But his other problem is that he's been in a lot of fights when he was younger, I guess. Yeah, he's got a lot of scars on his face anyways. And most of his teeth are missing, and he's been injured in the face. In any case, he's got some abscessed teeth from the teeth that he's got left. It's infecting his sinuses. He's spitting up, sneezing up blood, and he's having problems that way, and so he requires surgery. My daughter, being a young single lady who's going back to school full-time in September, simply doesn't have the funds to pay for this $2,000 to $2,500 surgery. So if there's any of you guys that are out there, guys and gals that are dog lovers, if you'd like to help her out, she's got a GoFundMe page. I'll put the link on the screen right at the bottom of the screen there, and so that you can go there. I will also put the link in the description below, so that you can use it and share it with your friends. If you know any other dog lovers who might not be knife people, let them know about the need that my daughter has with her dog Fletch. He's a nice dog, and I'd really hate to see him in pain, and I'd really hate to see if she can't afford to do this surgery. So thank you for helping out. That really means an awful lot to me if you can do that and share that with people. So this little knife is the Sanrenmu 4115SUX-SA. And it kind of looks very nondescript and unassuming, maybe even unimportant. It does not come with this little split ring. I put that on myself later on. And on the one side here, it's just a nice flat satin finish. And the other side is basically a big flat satin finish, except for in the corner you've got of the knife right there. One of the best things that I like about the 4115 is it is so simple and straightforward of a little knife. It's a really great knife to engrave if you want to give it as a gift to somebody. A buddy of yours, say a bunch of you guys have a certain event that you're celebrating or whatever. This is a really good knife to probably buy, a small box of. You might have 4 or 5 friends, 6 or 7 or 8, whatever. And you take it to an engraver and engrave something in there, because it's a knife that's built very robustly, and it's actually a functionally effective knife to do all the basic tasks that are included on this thing. And it's built well enough that it'll last, I believe, for quite a long time. Let's talk first about the multi-tool part. We've got a cap lifter, bottle opener. It's very functional. I tested it on some bottles and it works really well. The driver right here, the small standard driver that's included is, it's finished quite well and it fits properly into the size that it's supposed to be. You can also use that to pry a little bit. Be careful, of course, because it's getting thin there. But so you've got a prying tool built in, and then you've got a cordage ripper as well. Oh, Bandit's bumping around and stuff. Yes, now he's looking at me because I used his name. Good dog. And so you use this to, to rip stuff. I've got some paracord here, and just demonstrate. It just cuts right through that. Of course, sometimes you have to wiggle a little bit, and there are ways to sharpen that. If you take a look at my Blade Medic video or the other Quad Sharp video, there's that ceramic tool edge on that tool that you can use to sharpen this kind of cutter right there. So that works really well. In a pinch, in an emergency, you could probably get through a seatbelt using that. Of course, it's going to take a bit of effort, but it's better than having nothing available. Of course, you've got a blade here that you can also try to use in an emergency. It just all depends on what you have to get around. If you're cutting into a guy's shoulder to get the belt cut, maybe this isn't the best approach. In that case, maybe getting this thing past and pulling is a better approach, but whatever works for the scenario that you're in. And then the blade here is really nice. You've got, I forget what the measurement is. The measurement is 2.2 inches, 5.5 centimeters. Well, actually, sorry. This measurement is 2.2 inches, 5.5 centimeters, 0.9 inches this way, which is 2.3 centimeters. And the thickness is 5.6 millimeters, which is 0.22 inches. And since I was showing this off, let's talk about this now. The length of the blade is 1.4 inches, which is 3.6 centimeters. But it starts off as a 2 centimeter thick piece of steel, and it's only like 5 millimeters from the spine to the blade. So that means this angle V here that it's going down to the blade is actually quite the angle there. It's quite a bit sharper than most knives are, which means the edge here is a little bit more like a hatchet than like a knife. If it was twice the thickness that they had to go down that 2 millimeters, it would be a much sharper instrument. It's pretty good the way it is. It's just not super sharp because the angle is just a little bit too steep. But they did a good job grinding the final edge there. And so let's grab some paper here. You can see that it cuts fairly well. And I haven't changed it at all. That's the edge from the factory. And it cuts quite well that way. So it's a good knife for what you need. But the fact that it's 2 millimeters thick here also makes it quite strong, which is another reason why I was saying this is a good knife to create a kind of memorial tool, a memorial of some kind of event, some, happening or whatever. And, it's going to last for quite a long time because of that. I wouldn't go sharpening this knife an awful lot of times because you're going to get back to thicker steel all the time, making it the challenge much more difficult to sharpen it. So in some senses, it's more of a... Actually, no, let's rephrase that. There's two ways to approach this knife. You can make it, something special by engraving something really, meaningful on it, or whatever the scenario is. Or you can take it and use it as a robust tool and just use it until you've used the stink out of it and then buy another one. Because the price is so economical, it's good either way. It's just not going to accept a whole lot of times that you sharpen this knife. Instead of sharpening or removing steel, do the stropping thing, do those kinds of maintenance much more frequently, instead of taking it to the sharpener where you actually take steel off. It's a nice little penknife blade. It's solid. The spring on it is very strong for the slip joint, so it holds quite well. I just took a tiny bit of skin off right there. Yeah, no problem. And it just cuts quite well. I showed you a little bit of that paper. Everything else that I tried to cut works well. I've got a couple layers of paracord here. And cuts through that quite well. The challenge is holding this without, having it slip in your hand or whatever. It's not big enough for super hard work, but the edge is good enough to do anything that you put in front of it. As long as your hand can handle it, the knife certainly can handle it. It's a good knife. And the way I use this knife is I put this split ring on here. This one's about a 9mm split ring. And here's a typical keychain of mine. I've bought these little carabiners from GearBest. And I just clip it on there like that. And now I've got a knife on a key ring that I can take off easily, use when I need to use it, and then put it back on instead of having the whole bundle of my keys in my hand when I need to use the knife. So this is a really good little trick to give yourself access to extra things in your keychain without having to hold the full keychain for every little thing. I'll put a link in the description on these for GearBest as well. So that's all I have to say about this thing. I really like this thing. It's a great Wee Wednesday video in terms of talking about a tool that has a load of different options. 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways of using this thing for a really low price, and it looks good and it doesn't weigh an awful lot. The weight is 42 grams, which is 1.5 ounces. So what are the things I like about it? The size, the weight, the fit and finish is really good, and the tools work really well. And what don't I like about it? I would rather if this blade would have started off at 1.5mm instead of 2. It would make it slightly less strong, but it would make it easier to be very sharp. So yeah, it is sharp enough now to cut paper and things. It's just a small preference. It's not a big deal. It's not like a huge con. It's certainly not good enough reason for me to not recommend this, because I do recommend this. And I'm actually going to be buying a bunch of these. And they'll be stocking stuffers at Christmas and some other ways that I'm going to use these knives. It's just, it doesn't have any gaudiness to it like some of the knives that I've seen. Some of you have said, the little one that had the fish on it, a lot of you guys said, it's not attractive. And other things, the ones that are anodized with the gold and the blue and the green, some people don't like that. I think this shape and this, just plain satin steel is something that's going to be attractive to everybody that I want to give this to. And that's one of the reasons why I'm choosing this as the gift that I want to give away. Thank you so much for watching, for supporting Canadian Cutting Edge, and for supporting my daughter, and especially for supporting her dog. Thank you for liking this channel, liking the video, commenting, and remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.